Hello YouTube, the Tavistock Centre, NHS. Of course it's not really the NHS, it's an NHS Foundation Trust, which means that it's an autonomous body that receives funding from the NHS, the National Health Service. I'm thinking about what they do. It really seems to be a faith-based religion. There's no science behind any of it. They diagnose, but there's no physical testing for anything that they diagnose. No physical testing at all. Apart from, of course, the diagnosis that they've given me. Neuroscience all around the world, they've done a lot of studies into psychopathy and the brains of psychopaths. And they've discovered that the brains of psychopaths are abnormal, misshapen, and don't function in the same way as the brains of normal people. Of course, I've asked them for the test to have a functional magnetic resonance imaging scan on my brain to see if I have the brain of a psychopath, and they refuse to allow me to have the physical test for their diagnosis, which suggests to me that they have no faith in their ability to diagnose psychopathy. They should welcome the test, really. If they believe in what they do and they believe in their abilities, they should welcome the test. But they won't allow me to have a functional magnetic resonance imaging scan on my brain. I've been here a month now. I've changed my sign. If I plan that better, it should say cover up in historic child abuse. Didn't plan that very well. Never mind. I've spoken to hundreds of people who've come by. Some have challenged me. We've had discussions and debates, and I actually welcome that. I think people should challenge things more often than they do. But I had a lady turn up today. She wanted to challenge me, and she was quite confrontational in a passive-aggressive way. To start with, she turned up with a bicycle on this narrow piece of pavement here, stood right in the middle of the pavement talking to me with a bike blocking the path, and two women had to squeeze by, pushing buggies with young children in. She seemed completely oblivious to the passers-by, or the fact that people were squeezing around right next to the road with buggies and young children. So I had to ask her if she would move over, because she was blocking the path and causing inconvenience to other people. Anyway, she had no reasoned argument behind any of her challenge. No reasoned argument at all. She just seemed to want to start an argument rather than have a discussion or a debate about anything. She told me if you're sick, you should accept any help that's offered. I pointed out to her that these people here, psychology and psychiatry, not very long ago said that homosexuality was a sexual deviance, and we used to imprison people who were homosexual and chemically castrate them. Being a homosexual a while back was a sin in this religion, of psychology and psychiatry, and you were punished by the church of psychology and psychiatry for being a homosexual. These days they diagnose gender dysphoria in young children, and they give them hormone blockers, which of course is a form of chemical castration. Anyway, my opinion of these people is that they behave exactly like a religion, a faith-based belief in their ability and their opinion. They set out moral standards in the same way that religions do. In a way, it's kind of taken over from religion. In a way, it seems to be some kind of cult. I read in the newspaper yesterday that the NHS spent £250 million last year on antidepressants, SSRIs. This is to increase the serotonin in people's brains. Of course, there's no test to decide whether people actually lack serotonin in their brain. They have no physical testing for any diagnosis that they make, apart from mine, and when they're asked to do that physical test, they refuse. Not only that, they also refuse to explain the diagnosis that they've made, explain the understanding of it. And a lady that came by with a bicycle blocking the pavement, I got a bit chippy with her. She didn't expect me to stand up for myself. I had the impression she thought I was going to bow at her feet, desperate for her support. But she was defending things that she had no argument for. Very strange woman indeed. She's the first person that I've had to ask to leave me alone and go away. And then she played victim. Of course, the thing about people finding out that you're a psychopath and you exposing yourself as a diagnosed psychopath is that it brings out everybody else's inner psychopath. Of course, psychopathy is a spectrum, and everybody is on that spectrum, and everybody behaves psychopathically from time to time. When people find out that I'm a diagnosed psychopath, it seems to give people permission to express their inner psychopath. It's very strange. And of course it gives people permission not to have any empathy for me, because they perceive me as somebody that has no empathy. I get to see the nasty side of people who think they're good people, the reasonable people in the world. Somehow they give themselves permission to be an unpleasant human being, and then play the victim when I stand up for myself. Because another thing about these people is that if you disclose that you were sexually abused or physically abused or psychologically abused in childhood, they're quite likely to diagnose you with some kind of personality disorder. Which to me is a form of victim blaming, really. the way that you're processing your childhood abuse is a mental illness. Very strange people indeed. Anyway, you lot think it's normal. You're all in the cult. You will all defend the cult. It's also a cult that behaves like a criminal gang. It's separated itself up into different trusts all across the country. And when things go wrong and you challenge them on it, they say, oh, it wasn't us, it was them over there. Like these people don't communicate with each other. I remember when there was a problem with policing, that police forces didn't communicate with each other. They didn't have very good means of communication, information sharing between different forces within the police. Sometimes the police used that to their advantage, but it proved to be a bit of a problem when there were some serial killers running around the country, and that information wasn't being shared between forces. And if it had been shared properly with other forces, they probably would have caught the serial killer sooner. So steps were taken so that police forces could share information and communicate more effectively with each other. However, the Tavistock and Portman and all the NHS trusts that deliver mental health, they don't seem to talk to each other or share information. On the 4th of July, I put in a subject access request for a letter from Dr. Emma Janes, stating that at no point did she ever have any worries or concerns that I may be a psychopath. And of course I stopped my process because I need health care, and I went back to use it, but they wanted me to see a psychiatrist first, and I saw Dr. Andrew Puxtis in Plymouth in Devon, who then diagnosed me as a psychopath again, sending me around in circles. Anyway, the letter that I requested from these people, they haven't provided it. They also didn't give me an acknowledgement of the fact that I put in a subject access request for that letter. And on the 14th of July, I chased it up with another letter asking why they hadn't responded, why they hadn't acknowledged that I'd made a subject access request, and why they hadn't provided me with the letter that I'd requested. They're now stating it's nothing to do with them. Anyway, seems like they're not going to provide me with the letter that I've requested. Apparently I have to go somewhere else to get that. This is what happens when you have a complaint with them. They send you here, there and everywhere behind all these different front organisations. So you can never resolve any matter with them. Matters that should be resolved immediately, face to face, straight away. They don't do it. And then they'll put you down as being some sort of serial complainer. This is some part of a mental health condition that you feel like you have to make a complaint. They're absolutely batshit crazy, they are. Dysfunctional. A corporation, not a health service. It says they're caring and compassionate in their mission statements. They do talk bollocks. Anyway, they'll be getting me evicted soon rather than answer a simple, straightforward question about my diagnosis and its understanding. Wankers. Thanks very much.